across the league. Adel Ahmad over at Heavy.com recently detailed an expansive hypothetical framework proposing a highly complex three-team trade between the Lakers, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, designed to land P.J. Washington. The mechanics of this proposed structure are absolutely wild. The Los Angeles Lakers would acquire P.J. Washington alongside Naquan Tomlin. In exchange, the Mavericks would take on the contracts of Jared Vanderbilt and Jake LaRavia, while securing a 2031 first-round pick via Cleveland and 3 future second-rounders. The Cavaliers, acting as the ultimate facilitators, would absorb Adu Theo, Bronny James, and Dalton Knecht. However, before we start printing the jerseys, we have to look at the unforgiving realities of the modern collective bargaining agreement. As Lakers insider Jovan Buha recently pointed out, the franchise is suffocatingly close to the first apron limitations. To execute a legal transaction for Washington's money while successfully dodging the punitive luxury tax hard cap, Los Angeles is mathematically forced to match outgoing salary to incoming salary with extreme precision. This means shipping out a prominent rotation piece like Vanderbilt, or combining the contracts of young players like LaRavia and Jaden Hardy, all while attaching significant draft capital to make the deal appealing for Dallas. Analyzing the overarching strategy from Rob Pelinka and the front office, this scenario presents a severe tension between preserving future draft capital and maximizing the immediate title window for this Luka Dončić-led core. Offloading Vanderbilt and Knecht in this hypothetical framework means sacrificing elite perimeter defense and vital rookie-scale cost control. We must also inject some reality into the situation. NBA insider Jake Fisher recently reported on Bleacher Report that this specific Washington link is currently pure speculation, confirming there have been no trade talks of real consequence regarding him this offseason. Yet, this type of hypothetical maneuvering highlights exactly the caliber of versatile wing Rob Pelinka is evaluating, while the front office continues to monitor primary targets like Jonathan Kuminga. Translating this potential cap movement directly onto the hardwood, P.J. Washington fits the tactical blueprint of JJ Redick's offensive philosophy almost flawlessly. Redick's system heavily emphasizes high-velocity ball movement, elite spacing gravity, and players who can operate as dynamic threats in inverted pick-and-roll actions. Imagine Washington operating in the front court next to Luka Dončić, Austin Reaves, and the newly acquired defensive anchor Walker Kessler. Washington provides the exact weak-side floor spacing required to punish defensive schemes that naturally load up to stop Doncic's dribble penetration. He offers tertiary playmaking and crucial catch-and-shoot efficiency that prevents the defense from clogging the paint against Kessler's aggressive rim dives. Furthermore, Washington can seamlessly transition into dribble handoff, or DHO, actions at the top of the key, creating a layered half-court offense that forces opposing bigs out of the paint and completely destabilizes drop coverages. Since this remains pure speculation driven by complex salary cap gymnastics, my unfiltered verdict is that mortgaging premium draft capital for a non-all-star like Washington might be a reckless misallocation of assets given their current first apron constraints. Trading away Bronny James, Dalton Knecht, and future first-round draft assets for a complementary piece feels like a panic move rather than a calculated tactical upgrade. Does this theoretical tactical adjustment actually make the Lakers a top-tier contender, or is the front office better off preserving those assets for a bona fide Tier 1 star? Drop your thoughts below. The Lakers are attempting a massive paradigm shift in the highly competitive Western Conference, but beneath the blockbuster off-season headlines lies a glaring rotational void that could fundamentally derail their interior defense. Jacob Rude over at Silver Screen and Roll highlights a pressing issue for the purple and gold. While the front office secured Walker Kessler to act as the primary paint deterrent, the departures of Jackson Hayes and DeAndre Ayton have left the secondary center rotation painfully thin. Veteran Kevon Looney was brought in to stop the bleeding, but given his extensive career mileage, advanced age, and recent drop in on-court production, slotting him in as the undisputed primary backup is a massive gamble. Enter Jericho Sims. According to recent reports from Dan Woik of The Athletic and Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype, the Milwaukee Bucks are facing a severe roster crunch, needing to desperately trim their guaranteed contracts from 17 down to 15 players by opening night. Sims has emerged as a potential casualty of this numbers game, making him a highly intriguing trade target for Los Angeles. Diving straight into the transaction mathematics and cap space limitations, Sims is currently operating on an incredibly team-friendly contract, set to make just $2.8 million after exercising his player option this summer. In a vacuum, this makes him incredibly easy to trade for. However, the Lakers are trapped in their own mathematical nightmare. Sitting at 16 guaranteed contracts themselves, Rob Pelinka cannot simply absorb Sims into the fold. The front office is carefully navigating the unforgiving restrictions of the first and second aprons. To legally clear a roster spot and absorb Sims without triggering the luxury tax hard cap, Los Angeles would have to execute a highly improbable 3-for-1 transfer trade, which is nearly impossible at this stage of the offseason, given that rival teams lack multiple open roster spots. Analyzing the overarching strategy from Rob Pelinka, targeting a player like Sims is a clinical exercise in marginal asset optimization. The front office is tasked with a monumental challenge, maximizing the current championship window for Luka Dončić while severely limited by outgoing trade assets. Since they're reportedly still actively hunting for high-level wing reinforcements like Jonathan Kuminga, leveraging their few remaining second-round picks for a backup center might be a gross mismanagement of resources. The gold standard move here isn't forcing a convoluted trade. It's waiting for the Bucks to officially waive Sims and then attempting to secure him on a zero-risk veteran minimum contract. If we translate this potential acquisition into clinical X's and O's under head coach JJ Redick, how exactly does a raw, uber-athletic big man like Jericho Sims fit into a modern spacing-heavy system? Sims is the definition of an elite vertical spacer. He amassed an astonishing 95 dunks in just 67 games last season, bringing a level of lob-catching athleticism that the Lakers have severely missed since Jackson Hayes departed. In Redick's offense, having a relentless lob threat off the bench puts immense, constant pressure on opposing drop coverages. When the Lakers initiate heavy dribble penetration, Sims provides that essential vertical outlet at the rim. However, we must remain ruthlessly objective about his glaring flaws on the floor. Sims leaves a tremendous amount to be desired defensively. He is not a genuine rim protector and struggles heavily with point-of-attack defensive rotations. He perfectly mirrors the exact defensive limitations the Lakers experienced previously, meaning he doesn't solve their urgent need for disciplined secondary rim deterrence behind Walker Kessler. My definitive verdict on this rumor is crystal clear. Targeting Jericho Sims is a sensible, low-risk contingency plan if he hits the buyout market, but orchestrating a trade for him absolutely does not move the needle toward Banner 18. He is a roster redundancy rather than a tactical evolution. Do you think adding a one-dimensional vertical threat like Sims actually solidifies this bench rotation? Or is the front office playing it way too safe on the margins while ignoring elite defensive bigs? Drop your tactical breakdowns in the comments below. If you're wondering how the Los Angeles Lakers plan to completely weaponize their perimeter spacing and finally unlock the ultimate half-court offense, let's deeply unpack the tape on a potential reunion that could absolutely shatter the hierarchy of the Western Conference. Fran Leyva over at Fadeaway World has proposed a massive, highly calculated scenario where the Lakers could aggressively target veteran sharpshooter Klay Thompson. According to insider Mark Stein, the Dallas Mavericks are currently exploring the trade market for Thompson, though they are showing very little interest in a contract buyout at this exact moment. The Lakers have completely overhauled their roster around Luka Dončić, acquiring pieces like Walker Kessler, Quentin Grimes, Colin Sexton, and Matisse Thybulle. But no team built around Doncic can ever have too much elite perimeter shooting. To make this mathematically possible, we have to look strictly at the punitive salary cap mechanics. The Lakers are hard capped at the $209 million first apron after executing the sign-and trade for Kessler, and they are currently sitting with 16 guaranteed contracts on the books. They only have about $8.1 million of breathing room below that apron. In order to clear the necessary roster space and financial flexibility, Leyva suggests the Lakers must move off the contracts of Jared Vanderbilt, who is making $12.4 million, and young wing Dalton Knecht, who sits at $4.2 million. Shipping both out would clear roughly $16.6 million in payroll. While this doesn't magically create traditional cap space, it provides the critical first apron breathing room required to potentially sign Thompson to a veteran minimum or utilize remaining exception money if the Mavericks eventually pivot and buy him out. Evaluating Rob Pelinka's front office strategy in this scenario reveals a massive, high-stakes gamble. The tension lies in maximizing Doncic's absolute prime while navigating unforgiving modern CBA restrictions. Moving two established rotational pieces for an aging movement shooter is a monumental risk. Is it truly worth sacrificing Vanderbilt's elite defensive versatility and Knecht's long-term rookie-scale cost control just to secure Thompson? If the Lakers intend to match the offensive firepower of the league's elite, prioritizing historical spacing gravity over redundant wing depth might be the exact, aggressive, gold standard maneuver required to secure a championship. When we translate this potential acquisition directly to the hardwood, Klay Thompson's fit within head coach JJ Redick's heavy screening spacing-oriented system is theoretically lethal. Despite a statistically down year where he averaged 11.7 points, Klay still shot an elite 38.3% from deep on 7.6 attempts per game. Redick's offensive philosophy thrives on constant weak side motion and dynamic dribble handoff actions. By placing Thompson in the weak side corner while Doncic and Kessler run high inverted pick and roll sets, you create an impossible mathematical dilemma for the opposing low man defender. If the defense helps off Thompson to tag Kessler's roll to the rim, Thompson gets a wide-open catch-and-shoot look. If they stay terrified and attached to Klay, Doncic essentially keeps the entire middle of the floor to himself to isolate the big man. Furthermore, there is zero learning curve here. Klay signed with Dallas in 2024 specifically to play next to Doncic, and he already understands the exact rhythm required to thrive off Luka.